You know what I just found out about? Hades came out in 2018. How did I miss this game? And actually, why didn't Hades come out on the Nintendo Switch in 2018? By then the console was doing pretty well. Pretty weird. In this video, you're going to learn about all the nitty-gritty details about Hades, what it does offer, and overall if you should pick up Hades on the Nintendo Switch. Whether this be in 2020 or maybe 2021 when life would hopefully be back to normal. But let's be honest here, YouTube is probably going to knock this video all the way into oblivion. But in any case, let's get with the review. Now the gameplay loop of Hades is a lot like the other hack and slash roguelike games that has you go from nothing, then try to make your way through as many levels as you can before dying, and then you come back stronger with more knowledge about the enemies or maybe more weapons or maybe upgrades. A game that usually comes to mind when I think about these games is Dead Cells, but there are actually a lot of huge differences between Dead Cells and Hades, other than the camera angle of course. Hades is a top-down view and lets you get a good view of your surroundings, which is really good because there are a lot of things going on screen at once, and if you're not paying attention, they can kill you. When you first start the game up, you only have access to one weapon, which is a sword, and later down the line you get other weapons the farther you get into Tartarus, which has multiple levels. When you die in Tartarus, you bring back currency that unlocks other weapons that completely change the way you attack enemies. These weapons can range from a bow and arrow that lets you charge up a power shot or shoot multiple arrows at once, to a shield that lets you block damage or throw it around like Captain America. I mean, there's even a gun with a grenade launcher on it, which is kind of weird considering this takes place in the underground, but it's still fun to use. Now this isn't what makes Hades gameplay so fun. Yes, you do have the really cool weapons like the spear that you can throw and call back like Kratos from God of War on the PS4 or the gauntlets, but you also have different items that are given to you by different gods like Athena, Zeus, and Ares, and other Greek gods. They'll give you a choice between different upgrades, one of 3 upgrades to be specific, and each god has a specific type of upgrade. The first thing that comes to mind is Athena's upgrades, which are more based around protecting yourself and deflecting attacks. Depending on which upgrades you pair with different weapons, it can create a vastly different experience each time you go into Tartarus. Every time I say Tartarus, it just reminds me of Persona 3. So for example, if you choose Zeus and you rock the good old bow and arrow, you can have a call, which is sort of your special ability, which has a meter that you fill up each time you attack an enemy. When you press down the button, it calls down a lightning strike for massive damage. Not too impressive, right? You're pretty much standard AoE RPG ability. But then there are other upgrades like the electric boon, which is a Zeus upgrade, and if you pair it with a bow and arrow, you can shoot electric arrows through the enemy and it'll bounce between enemies. Now you pair that with an upgraded bow, which you can upgrade each weapon and it'll change the way they play, and you can load these boons into the arrow and shoot them all at once for massive damage. And the crazy thing is, each button has its own type of attack, so one button will shoot 3 arrows and another one will charge up a shot, and each attack can have a different effect for each god, so there are just so many variety in attacking your enemies in this game, and it's crazy. And that's only for one god. There are about 5 or 7 gods. The one that I always find myself going back to is Athena's boon, which, like I said before, Athena is usually for deflecting attacks and defending yourself. So when you use her, she shoots out these circular crystals and it'll deflect the attacks and also do great damage. Add that with the upgraded bow and it makes for one hell of an attack. Now you're probably wondering, how do I get these amazing upgrades? Well, each floor will have an upgrade for you, or maybe some currency that you can get at the end of each floor. When you finish this room, you have a choice between 2 or 1 room. The icons will be on top, and when you go into that room and finish it, you'll get that prize at the end. And of course, like before I said, it's not always upgrades. Sometimes you can buy health or more money or more upgrades from a vendor, or sometimes it's a trap by Hades, which usually has a reward at the end. Now after you die, you can go back to your room and go into this magical mirror and you can upgrade your character. Now these upgrades range from more health to better rewards or more chances when you die, which all can be unlocked with currency that you get by fighting in Tartarus. Now this is a lot to take in, and I think Hades knows this, so it smartly introduces these gameplay mechanics and even whole new characters and bosses slowly as you get farther into Tartarus and the more times you go into Tartarus. One example that I always like is the different sisters of Alecto. It's the first boss you meet, and after a while, the more times you beat her or the more times you die by her, you'll introduce more characters that are her sisters. And these characters have vastly different personalities from each other, which I really like. And that's another great thing about Hades, that a lot of characters have distinct personalities and have bright and vibrant personalities. They feel like their own characters. Hades is constantly throwing me for a loop, like introducing new characters, runes, enemy types, and more, and I love it, because it made me want to play more to see what else they have for me. Hell, they even made me want to buy one of the songs which was in one of the rooms that the NPC was singing. And the cherry on top top of this is the wonderful voice acting that the characters do in this game. This feels like a living, breathing world. People in this game are sarcastic, angry. You really get a sense that these people are a family and they've known each other for a very, very long time. Not only that, but a lot of the encounters are not the same. They've recorded multiple dialogues for multiple scenes. So if you die by one of the Electo sisters, the next time you see them may be different, which is really great because sometimes games can use the same dialogue over and over again, and every single time you fight the boss, you'll hear the same thing, so it's good to see something different. Now, I've been pretty much gushing about this game so far, but what are the negatives? Because no game is perfect, and honestly, the negatives for Hades are so small that they are barely even noticeable. I'd have to say I'd like to manually save the game, because sometimes when you're not finishing around and you maybe have to get off your Nintendo Switch, or PC if you're on PC, you lose some of your progress and you can't save in Hades, so there isn't a save, but there is an auto save, and most of the time it works. But I think manually saving it would be better in my opinion. There's also a God mode, which is basically an easy mode, and if you want to check out the story and not worry about the game being too difficult, because you will die many times. I think I've died like 40 times already. The game gives you an option, which really isn't a negative, honestly. It's actually a positive. I don't even know why I included it in the negative part. And honestly, I'd like to see at least 1 or 2 more weapons. Now, you're probably wondering, how well does it run on the Nintendo Switch? Well, it runs pretty damn near perfect. The only problem I found is that the loading screens can be very long at times, and sometimes it can freeze for a slight moment for a couple seconds, but eventually it goes back to normal. Overall, Hades is a fantastic game with a pretty great story, a fantastic game loop, and interesting mechanics that never really get old. Aside from some few minor problems and gripes, it's a fantastic, well-made game and looks beautiful on the Nintendo Switch. If you have the choice to get it on PC or the Nintendo Switch, get it on the Nintendo Switch. I'm giving Hades a 9.5 out of 5, and you should definitely pick this game up if you enjoy games like Dead Cells and if you enjoy hack and slash games. So what did you think of Hades? What was your favorite weapon and god power? Tell me in the comment section below, and make sure you subscribe for more gaming news and of course video game reviews just like this. The next one is going to be Crash Bandicoot, by the way. Thanks for watching, guys, and remember, stay safe, stay charged, and have a good one.